This is ABS, Heartbeat of the East.
Good morning and welcome. It's Good Morning Anambra, our Monday episode. I'm so delighted to be here. And of course, it's the 8th day of August 2022. How are you today? Thank you so much for waking up with us on Good Morning Anambra show. Let's begin the show with a press review. By the way, my name is Nonye Mokoye. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome to the press review. On the press review, we have two gentlemen that have joined us, Obikeze and Jerry Obodo, in the studio to do justice to the papers today. Remember, this program is audience participatory. We take time to look at what the papers are saying, of course, and of course, what's making the headlines on ABS website. You're welcome. Let's begin with stories trending on ABS website this morning. All right, quickly, on ABS website, we have Soludo felicitate with Archbishop Ibezim at 60. Anambra State Government organizes workshop on ecosystem conservation in Oka. Anambra Assembly Speaker Okafor extends felicitation to Archbishop Ibezim on 60th birthday. Ohanes Zendibo, VP Okeke Ogene, others laud Soludo on mentorship of youths. Mrs. Soludo asked women to access funding from ASBA for small-scale businesses. All right, let's take, I think we'll take two stories at a time there. The one talking about felicitations of Ibezim at 60. In fact, a lot of celebrations he had yesterday, so many years in his episcopacy, even his anniversary and all whatnot. They were celebrated together. So let's take off from there.
Yeah, it's celebrations all the way. We thank God for keeping the Archbishop, His Grace, up to this age. It's 3 things rolled in one. He's hardworking man. It's not easy to be in charge of the whole archbishopry and the province, and he's doing well in his job. So we say kudos and congratulations to him on his new age, and we pray that the Almighty God will continue to strengthen him, imbue him with more wisdom to be shepherding the flocks entrusted into his hands. It was celebrations on the way. They had a new palace for the archbishops. They have a new church there. A lot of activities, a lot of developmental projects which he has initiated, and also is looking at the angle of the spirituality. I know he organizes crusades for the Anglican and also for the interdenominational matters. So we say congrats to him.
All right, so you say congratulations to Ibezim at 60. There's been report has it that the lifetime of a Nigerian these days is 55, and some have reduced it to 45, if I may say. But celebrating 60 years is no mean feat, especially in the face of where we have found ourselves in Nigeria today. What's your take, Obekezi?
It's a very sensitive situation. Let me join my friend in congratulating the Archbishop and then pleading with God to also continue to imbue him with a long life to continue to shepherd his flocks. You know, because of problems in Nigeria, we now see a situation where to live up to 60, as we have said, it's a case of jubilation when you get to that age because of situations we have found ourselves, situations where people are no longer happy. People have adrenaline or bitterness all over them. People cannot move about freely. People are frustrated. And so when people clock up to 60 years, it becomes a matter of celebration. It's because of hardship, because of insecurity, because of situation in the country. People are so much in distress. And if it continues, to get up to 30 even will become a problem in due course. So what we do is to plead with God, beg God, and then let him touch the minds and hearts of our leaders so that they provide the necessities of life that will make people to
live
longer.
All right, congratulations to Archbishop Ibezim. Now, let's take the story of the wife of our dear governor, Mrs. Nonye Soludo, who is asking women to access funding from ASBA for small-scale businesses. You know, this one thing is to ask them, and I believe that one day we may get them on stage here to talk about how people can actually access this fund. So, what's your take on that?
That's exactly what came to my mind. When this kind of thing needs a lot of education,
enlightenment,
a lot of information, enlightenment. Many of us and many of the women may not even know what it's called husband, that kind of thing. So it's very necessary to take up that enlightenment, especially this time of August meeting. Go to the places of their meetings and then inform them, educate them, enlighten them, expose them. The people who are knowledgeable in that area should be brought.
And even giving them contacts.
Exactly.
Of
so
whom to meet.
It's good that the First Lady has said it, but we should also take the information to crannies of the state, the churches, the communities, wherever we find women, we should be able to educate them how to assess the whole thing.
Funds.
Because you can say assess. Some of us who are even in Oka may not even know what we mean by that kind of thing. So we need a lot of education.
All right,
Unfortunately,
thank you.
the orientation agency in Nigeria, I think they are no longer there to educate people.
But we still have them around.
Well, they have them. What are they doing then if we have them?
All right, well, maybe we could ask them. Let's move on. Okay. Let's see the papers, actually. The first paper for this morning, the Daily Sun newspaper. Let's look at what the Daily Sun newspaper has in stock for Monday, the 8th day of August 2022. Buhari's minister under fire over insecurity as to strike. With a rider there, Afenifere, Haneze, MBF, others say FG can't borrow to fund ASU. Position senseless. Crack in IPOB as group disowns purported Biafra in exile government. We also have a Lagos red line rail ready first quarter next year, assures as Sanwo-Olu. Russia-Ukraine crisis, EU dumps Nigeria in gas supply deal. Nigerians dying of hunger, Okowa laments. Nigeria, others face energy transition setback over limited international funding. Military airstrikes killed chief terrorist Abdul Karim Boss, 27 others in Katsina. That police kill 8 others, rescue 6 kidnapped victims. We also have Pantami emerges first African Fellow of Chartered Institute of Security. 50 billion naira Nimasa floating dock rots away at naval dockyard. Nigeria loses 21.5 billion naira annually to neighboring dock facilities. That's the rider on that story, and a whole lot of others. Let's begin from there, Jerry. 50 billion naira Nimasa floating dock rots away at naval dockyard, while our neighbors are now benefiting from what would have been coming into the coffers of Nigerian government?
Yes, it's the same, leadership inadequacies or shortfalls, lack of managerial acumen or managerial ability that is, in every sphere of what we have. This country has no reason for be a beggar nation if the right managers are in place. Look at Ghana. Ghana, what do they have? Do they have oil? Do they have any of these other minerals? They have gold, but they manage it properly, and it's taking them to higher pedestal of development. See their educational system, their universities. All these Nigerians are rushing to Ghana for their universities because of the way it's functioning and equipped. Look at Cotonou here. Their ports, their seaports, is what they are managing properly and is sustaining them. This dockyard thing is the neighboring country that they are talking about. This Benin is benefiting from the lapses they have. They cannot put the dockyard to proper maintenance and management. So the capital flight is the advantage to the Benin Republic. So it's a managerial acumen ability that is rubbing off even in the whole tiers of government, So that is the situation.
All right. Obiekeze, I don't know whether I should call this one of the ironies of life, where a situation where Pantami emerges first African fellow of Chartered Institute of Security. He's a Nigerian, and look at what we are facing in the area security sector in this country.
You've said it. The problem is a lot of questions should be asked on such things. How do some of our Nigerians get to such positions? Is it out of competence, or is it out of bribery and corruption that is very much resident in Nigeria? So these are some of the questions. If he got it out of competence, then we thank God for him, which means that our brains are not being utilized effectively. There are so many Nigerians that have the talent, the brain, the skill, and the competencies to engage in such things. But because of the situation we have found ourselves, maybe out of the way we recruit people who should be in such services, we are not doing much to get the best hands. So people who know the value and who can exploit and explore some of these things, grab them from us and then make use of them. Our people are doing very well all over the world. In some other places they find themselves. They are competent in medicine, in security, in all these things. But because of situation in Nigeria, maybe out of nepotism and out of poor motivational facilities, we are not found worthy to engage in such things. So we thank God for the person, and then if he got to the place properly, it's worth being happy for.
It could be put to use,
that is part of it.
Okay.
But my brother,
Okay.
some of the times, some influences come to play into the certificates or whatever honors that are coming. So, if that is the case, it's not something to be, sharing about. For instance, he's the Minister of Digital Economy and whatever. What is the ministry doing to secure the country? They are using the NIS and so many other registrations. Have they been able to use it to track the Boko Haram, the kidnappers, the herdsmen that are maiming and killing Nigerians on a daily basis? The answer is no. So you can see that it's not using positively but negatively. They have, if you have an ulterior motion or negative motion on a writing, the wrong things are always what is coming out. So I don't, say.
All right, quickly. The next paper for review, the National Star, New National Star newspaper is next in our lineup. On the banner headlines in the front of that paper says, economy may collapse soon. That's coming from NECA, which right there says spiraling inflation, energy crisis, falling currency, others bleeding economy. IPOB announces interim leader denies government in exile. We also have Ayu's fate hangs in the balance as PDP convenes NEC meeting. Lagos Red Line train project to start full operation in first quarter of 2023. That's coming from the governor of the state, Sanwo-Olu. Controversy trails Lalong's appointment as APC PCC DG. And the LEA arrest pastor with 3 drums of Mkpuru in Akwa Ibom. Police rescue 6 kidnapped victims in Katsina. 8 suspected terrorists killed. Wow, a lot of stories in front of this paper. So, Jerry, which one are we taking
let
first?
me take on the appointment of Lalong as DG campaign for the APC presidential election. Whatever no matter the way they paint it, we have known the right things that should be done. They have made it a Muslim ticket, and they are now painting it. The battle line has been drawn between the Muslim and the Christian. Otherwise, they shouldn't have did what they did by doing Muslim tickets. And everybody cried that that's not the normal thing. It's a misnomer, where you have the 2 religious, this thing, and you sideline the other one. So, what I'm saying is that the Christians should not see this as something to cheer about or to write about. It's just a painting or camouflage. They all work hard to see that a Christian presidency emerges in the 2023, so that most of the things, it's not even a matter of religion, it's a matter of competency. The presidential candidates that have been thrown up, we should look at their pedigrees, how they have performed in the past,
all right, and
their age, and every other thing.
Okay, and choose rightly, choose rightly. Okay, let's move on. We have this issue of insecurity. Now in Katsina State, police rescue 6 victims and 8 suspected terrorists are killed. Somebody said when you wake up in Nigeria and you didn't hear a story of killing or kidnap, you ask yourself, or you pinch yourself to know whether you're still in Nigeria. Would that be true?
Yeah, so sure, you have said it all. Life in Nigeria has become so precarious that nobody knows the next minute. And so discussing insecurity these days, I don't think it's no longer news, because every part of the country is inherent with so much killings, so much banditry, so much kidnappings, and such nastiness of life, which Hobbes and the rest of other philosophers have spoken in the past, long past. That Nigeria is a situation where you don't know the next minute. You are not sure of the next, what happens to you. All parts of the country, not just one section. It's very, very worrisome. So when we get up and we don't hear about kidnappings and that kind of thing, we seem as if we are no longer here. It's just like what is happening in Israel and Palestine and the rest of them. Any day they don't have protests and that kind of thing, they feel unease. So that is the situation in Nigeria, and that demands a lot of vigilance, a lot of sensitivity on the part of the citizens. We've been told to take our personal security very seriously, but how can people do that without being equipped in one way or the other? And there's nothing no atom of equipment can even solve the problem, because even in the places where we have these arms with the common people, they are being retrieved from them. But if now ask Nigerians to protect themselves, how would they do that? In a country where people are so bitter, so angry, so hurtful. If you give them guns, they'll start shooting anyhow. So what we are saying is that insecurity in Nigeria has become something else. And that was the mantra on which Buhari came in. Many of us thought that being a general in the Nigerian army, having fought the war, and having been part of the military governance in the past, that he would check it. That was part of the thing that made them to come into power, removing Jonathan. Now, what have we gained? So it's a situation where we don't know. I think the government is overstretched. They have also confessed that they've done the much they could. Okay. We just trust in God.
Quickly, we move to the Punch newspaper now. Let's see stories making the headlines on the Punch newspaper. No going back on Buhari's impeachment, aggrieved lawmakers talking with riders there. Impeachment threat not withdrawn. Insecurity still persists. Deputy Minority Whip. We will remove Lawan if he blocks president's removal. Osun Senator insists. APC senators tired of defending Buhari on insecurity. Benue Senator Jev. UK Museum to return 72 looted Benin bronzes. FG to implement telecoms beverage taxes in 2023. Strike. PTA demands federal government ASU parent confab. Nigeria needs 21 trillion naira to bridge housing deficit. Bank of Industry talking. Debt servicing to hit 10 trillion naira. Economists slam federal government. And Lagos Rail opens 2023 to transport 500,000 daily. Soldiers, Samoteko, comb forest for Lautech student killers. It's pathetic. A newborn labored in vain. Murdered job seeker's sister. Drivers kill woman, bystander. Hoodlum steal deceased phone. Okay, a lot of stories in front of the Punch newspaper. You know, I don't know. Where are you beginning from?
Okay, let me take on the ASU strike.
Okay, the PTA and calling for confirm.
Yes, well, a lot of talkings without much action is useless. The federal government has shown its sensitivity to the issues of our education. Recently, we heard that the federal government has given out 1.4 billion to Niger Republic to buy vehicles of, very expensive types. So you wonder if that money had been applied to the ASU matter, that they wouldn't have gone to school by now. So you can see that they are very insensitive to the educational matters in Nigeria. One would have expected them to, at least for the first of all, sort this ASU strike matter before giving any help to Niger Republic.
And sometimes you begin to wonder, because immediately, I think a day or 2 days after the money was released or the vehicles were bought for Niger Republic, somebody was actually asking parents to beg lecturers to go back to classrooms. Don't you think that some actions by our government could even irritate these people the more, that they will insist on not going back until every of their demands are met?
You mean the ASU?
Yes.
That is why.
The teachers.
That is why they are insisting. If you recall that several strikes have been called off in the past. Several strikes have been called because of insincerity of the government, because of insensitivity of the government. They now discover that the federal government is not sincere. when we go to the negotiating table with them, we go back to our duties, only for them to renege. They go back and do nothing. So they now say, why not, settle this matter once and for all? That is why
they feel ignored at the same time.
They feel ignored.
Okay, let's look at the impeachment case of our president. What's your take on that? The lawmakers are still insisting, and they said that if the speaker should be on their way of doing what they want to do, they will have to remove him.
Well, impeachment process is not an easy thing. It's not something you just wake up to.
And do they even start early?
That is the question.
How many months?
What is important is the symbolic nature. Even if he's impeached the last day of his job, the importance is what is needed. That is the information it will send to him and then to other leaders. That he has lost all that he had done. That means obliterating all that he had done for more than 8 years, and even the ones he did before that. So the timing may not even matter. What I'm saying is the issue of ability to carry out the impeachment threat. One is that do they have the majority in the House?
All right, let's see who is here. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You're welcome. What's your name and your location?
I'm Martin. I'm calling you from Enugu.
Martin, you're welcome. How is Enugu this morning? All right, go ahead.
I want to make a contribution on the local side and the senator.
All right, impeachment. Thank you.
The senators know that them themselves share the same brain with the president. The president is not the only person to impeach. The president must be impeached. The senators too must be impeached. The state government too must be impeached.
Impeachment everywhere.
What more have they made to make sure that insecurity is being crushed down in this nation? They are just thinking that they're making mistakes. Listen, if you know that the 1.5 billion was signed on February, and the senator, nobody made any utterances, nobody made any speech. It was found that everybody just woke up from their sleep and slumber, and they want to impeach the president. Let them leave with our president who has finished his term. The president and the senators and the state government, they are all failures. They have failed the matter. So using the fighting at this dying minute, I don't see the need. It is not necessary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that contribution. This one is like the person that said everywhere ganga. So everybody should go on impeachment. Senators, the governors. As
far as I'm concerned, it's coming too late in the day. They had opportunities of impeaching the president before now.
All right.
But because of the bags, the money bags that is going around, they will enjoy it.
So, you're still talking.
Yes, I was trying to just analyze the situation. So if we are going to impeach the president, the issue of timing may not be necessary, because if he's impeached the last day of his office is something very significant, and that's what they want to achieve. But my worry is, do they have the majority in the House? Right now, APC has a greater number of lawmakers in the House. And then, even if some of them are aggrieved because of one thing or the other, there should be a lot of, they are going to lobby them, and they will back down on the job. So this issue of something is not even, to me, it's not something for somebody to worry himself.
You know, from our call, I think the implication of what actually is said is that does it mean the governors or the lawmakers have no moral standing, to impeach the president, owing that they too contributed to the problem. And because he said that the 1.4 billion that was actually signed in February, why is it that it is now that they've come up to talk?
It's now that people heard of it.
But the lawmakers approved it.
Are you sure that they approved it? Maybe he did it and then brought it for them to approve, for them to ratify. So some of these things are neither here nor there.
But my take really is that let the president finish his tenure, because it will bring confusion.
All right, we have another caller here. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.